Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we're doing another indie horror spotlight. Today I have with us, he's a director. He's also had quite a few acting roles as well. But he has a movie right now that's streaming on Tubi, and it's called Dead of Night. I have with us Joe Graceffi. Joe, welcome to the Horror Room.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure. So, tell us a little bit about Dead of Night.
Dead of Night, we did that several years ago. And it was the idea of making a movie. I was inspired by these filmmakers that I had met at, I think it was Fangoria Convention in Burbank, California, doing these $5,000 and $10,000 movies, like dirt cheap, and actually selling them. And I thought, I can do this. I watched some of their movies, and I thought, I can do that blindfolded. not no insult to them, but I thought, I've been doing this long enough by that time to know how to get better production value. And these guys were shooting on, I think some of them were still VHS. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I can do this. So I was trying to think of an idea that would work and be creative, inventive, and not feel like we've all seen it before. And at the time, Seven was, I thought, a really good movie. And what I refer to as a list movie. Mm-hmm. The killer has a checklist.
Yes.
And I thought, okay, I have access. My friend Wayne Stevens has this suit of armor that's pretty authentic, and he's an actor. And let me came up with the title, Dead of Night, with a K. And I was thinking, okay, what is it? Chivalry. What does chivalry mean? So I looked it up in the dictionary, and sure enough, there was a list of chivalrous things. So I said, okay, here's it. We got the title, we got the boogeyman, we have a list, and I reached out to my friend Emilio Iasiello, who I'd never met in person. We met online when I was looking for screenplays, and he had one called Three-Fingered Willie that I thought was really good, but someone had optioned it by that time. I threw this idea at him, and I said, it's Dead of Night. We got a boogeyman that's a resurrected knight, and I got a list. Can you do something with that? Knowing that I only want to spend $5,000 to make this movie. And so don't put anything crazy in it either. And he said, yeah, I can do this. So, and not too long later, he threw a screenplay at me, and I thought, this is actually fantastic. But probably skipping ahead in the conversation, he did throw in some crazy things like recreating a Renaissance festival. Oh, yeah. And I thought, how am I going to do this with $5,000? And I said, you know what? I'm going to figure out how. And if you've watched the movie, you can kind of see what we did. We got permission to film at an actual Renaissance festival. And you'll notice that we don't see anybody's faces in that. Yeah. Shots. And then we got permission to shoot on a property called it's a haunted house here in town, and he let us use their parking lot, and I got a bunch of extras. Since I do on the side, I do casting. Mm-hmm. I got got about 50 people out there, some of them in Renaissance type costumes, and we created a little section of our festival where our characters were. And it actually worked pretty well. So that's a little bit of background and production note for you.
Because I mean, as a no budget or low budget filmmaker, you have to be creative. I've interviewed so many, and you have to work around your budget and your circumstances.
Absolutely. You can't. You got to go for that production value, no matter what your budget is, mm-hmm. or the film will look cheap. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes it's not. We wanted it to look much bigger than we actually spent. And you do have to be creative, and sometimes it's not just what you see on screen; it's how you put the whole thing together. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't have any money to pay a good sized crew, so I was relying on my friends who had some skills to come out and help me, and some who I trained to help me, like my friend Scott Frank. Scott had no production experience whatsoever, and he was my neighbor. He'd often check on my dog for me, and he said, I want to come play. And I said, oh, come on out. And I taught him some things, and he was invaluable to it. but you do have to be creative, and sometimes it's on the crew side too. Most of the time I wore a lot of hats, and sometimes I was the only crew member there. And it's a bit of a struggle, but you got to get through it if you want to make these movies.
I agree. And as someone who's a huge horror fan, and I watch probably a lot more horror movies than most, but one of the things is, yes, you got to have a good look, you got to have a great film, but the story is what keeps the audience engaged.
Yes.
In the movie. You have a beautiful looking movie and you got a crappy story, people are going to click out, especially now in the streaming days.
Right. When you're lucky. I feel lucky that anybody watches my movies at all because of what you just said. There's so much content out there. I'm grateful if anyone clicks on mine, even for 15 minutes, but you're right. I do completely agree with you. The script is king. The script is king. If you got a good script, the audience will overlook a lot of other things.
Now, this is your personal opinion. Why do you feel like so many? I just had a live Indie Horror Live, and I was asking, can you have a good story and great kills and all that good stuff? Can you? Because it seems like as a watcher, when you watch indie horror movies, it's either you have all these great kills in production, or you have a good story. It's rare to have both. Why do you think that so many filmmakers either go one way or the other?
You're right. A lot of horror filmmakers rely on the gore effects, and a lot of audience members just watch for that or watch for the nudity and whatnot. It is entirely possible to have a good story and include all that stuff. Sometimes it might be complacency, where the filmmakers know that I just need to have X amount of good kills and people are going to love the movie. It might be inexperience where they don't know what a good script is. If they watch a lot of bad horror films, of course, that's what you're going to think is good.
Exactly.
But if you watch good movies, I don't just watch horror films. I watch movies.
Me too.
I watch a good movie as a good movie, and you can take those story elements from non-horror movies that make those scripts really good and use them in your horror film. Like one of the themes in Dead of Night and even Conjoined is someone pointed out in an article they wrote, it was love. The boogeyman is doing what he's doing for the sake of love. And in Conjoined, our male lead is doing what he's doing because he's in love. Mm-hmm. But they're horror films. Well, Conjoined is more of a comedy and with horror elements. Yeah. But it's entirely possible to combine the two. If you just take the story, see how good movies and good TV shows can carry the story, and then add your horror to that.
And the most important aspect of that is character development.
Yeah.
As a watcher, I have to care about the characters. Would it be the villain or the victims? I have to feel something about them. And there has to be, I'm not saying like you're going to have a huge backstory about, but you got to know, why is this killer doing this? Like you said, why is this killer doing this? And also, who are these people who are the victims? Or do I like them? Do I hate them? How do I feel when something bad happens to them?
Yes, that is part of the good script. Is, do I care for these characters when a character that I really like dies? Does it hurt? Or am I rooting for the killer to get that person?
Exactly.
Taking a little step back to watching movies where you can learn a lot about screenwriting. Let's take Die Hard for a second. Mm-hmm. Okay, great movie, great script. We love the characters. We love Bruce Willis and some of the other characters. Others we don't. That could easily have been a horror film. Easily. Just take the gun out of the Hans Gruber's hands and give him an axe or something. And it's suddenly a horror film where you care about all these people and you care about what happens to them, and you can still laugh at the things that are funny.
Yes.
And I've got a little off tangent there. So where were we going?
We're talking about character development. Yes.
Character development is so key. And I recently ended a teaching job that I had been doing for 3 years, teaching screenwriting and filmmaking. And what we emphasized to these young filmmakers was character is the most important part of your screenplay. Your audience is going to identify with your character and feel themselves in that character and care about that character. Like you said, if they don't care about that character, they're not going to care about what happens to that character. They're not going to care about your movie.
Exactly. And you brought up Die Hard, which is one of my favorite action movies. I'm an action fan as much as I am a horror fan. But like Hans, you may not like Hans, or you were like, oh, you were glad when he died, but you understood why he was doing what he was doing. I see so many horror movies, even action movies now. Like, I don't know why the villain why he's doing what he's doing. What is his reasoning? What is his MO? Like, it's just bad guy placed there doing bad things.
Right. Another thing that we taught our young filmmakers is, and I learned this years before I started teaching, the villain is the hero in his own story.
Yes.
If you know what they're after, then you could easily switch protagonist and antagonist and make the villain the good guy and the hero the bad guy. So you're right.
And one movie, this is not even a horror movie that did a great job of it. And it's not even I wouldn't even say it's my favorite Marvel movie, but Black Panther, Killmonger, played by Michael B. Jordan, was such a great villain, but you understood why he was doing it. And when he finally died, you kind of felt bad for him. You were like, I understand where he was coming from.
Right. And that Black Panther was a great movie. And you can also take Thanos from the Avengers.
Yes.
We knew exactly what he was doing. And in his mind, he was not a bad guy. It could easily have been his story and him trying to save the world. Mm-hmm. Him trying to save the human race, even though it took killing half of them to do it. He was doing it for the good of the planet.
I agree. Now you've acted probably more than you've made movies. You've been in a lot of roles. I mean, I even saw that you were in Stranger Things. Now, do you think acting has helped you be a better filmmaker?
Absolutely. I think it's helped me. I was an actor before I was a director. And I think acting has helped me with the characters in my movies that I direct. As an actor, I know how I need to be directed. I know what I need to bring to the table. And now I know as a director through acting how to communicate with my actors to get what I want. If they're struggling, I can work with them. If they're nailing it, I leave them alone. But I know I have clear respect for what they do, and I know what I need to get out of them to make these characters work.
Do you think it's important for any young filmmaker to work on the other side of the camera as well?
I do. I highly encourage my students to attend Sarah Gaston's acting classes when she would have them. So these directors can know how to talk to actors and know what all these kids had to do is go to class and watch Sarah work with her actors in her class, because they will learn to communicate with them. They will learn what the actor's job is, what the actors should bring to the set, so the director doesn't have to worry about it. A lot of young directors just worry about the camera. And
why is that?
They worry about the camera, what kind of camera they're using, the composition of the shots, which is very important. But like you said, if we care about the actors, if we care about what they're doing on screen, a lot of the other stuff can fall by the wayside, at least a little bit. And they get these directors get wrapped up in how the lighting looks and how the shot looks, and not working with the actors.
It's crazy, Joe. You're literally the third filmmaker that I've interviewed in a row. I'm literally in a row. Just had one week before yours that said the same exact thing.
Oh, wow.
So many filmmakers are just wrapped up into what kind of camera they're using and the technical side, and they don't care about delivering a good story or a good performance.
Right. I don't think it's not that they don't care. They sometimes don't know.
They don't know.
They don't know what it is. They don't know what a good performance is. They don't know what a good actor actually brings to the table. I see, there's a lot of bad movies out there, not just horror films, where they cast someone who they thought was a good actor. Maybe they didn't realize the actor's style was over the top. Maybe they just never worked with a really skilled actor before, so they don't know what to expect. And they hire the wrong person, or they hire their friends because their friends are available. I saw that happen all the time at school. They just cast other classmates, and I said, guys, I'm so happy that you've worked with your friend, but they're not an actor. That's your actor is what we're going to care about when we watch this movie. If you just hire friends that say lines and don't know what to do with, don't know how to deliver those lines, or don't know how to work with the camera, because it's not just what the actor says, it's their whole physicality that expresses the character. If they don't know these things, we're going to see that it's an amateur actor or a non-actor and not care at all.
Because beginning this year, I actually had my first acting role. It was 3 lines, but I was so impressed watching, skilled actors. I was watching skilled actors, how they deliver their lines, and
right.
Even skilled actors would say, no, let's reshoot that. I didn't deliver that well enough. And I was wow, and that's something that is definitely important. I think having individuals who know the craft and care about the craft they're a vital part of your filmmaking team. Right.
Actors bring a lot more to the table than a lot of people think. Good actors can save you a lot of money, a lot of stress. I've been on sets where I'm working with good actors and we just do one take because the director said, that was great. That was absolutely perfect. And that's what the actors bring to the table is their interpretation. A good actor will come prepared with an interpretation of the role, and they could be wrong, but they brought something. And if they're wrong, the director's job is to put them back on track. But a good actor will bring something to the table, even if there was no rehearsal.
Now, I'm assuming you've always been a horror fan.
Yes, I grew up in the 70s with all those eco-terror movies.
Yes.
Empire of the Ants, the Food of the Gods, and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So I grew up with it. Yeah. And then, of course, the 80s are just a huge movie buff in the 80s. So we could see everything. Had a dollar theater within walking distance of my parents' house. Was going up there all the time. Sometimes 2 or 3 movies a day.
Now, are you excited as a horror fan to see where horror is going in the future?
Yes, I think I think they've gotten much better as far as storytelling goes, and the effects are nuts. I'm still a big fan of practical effects.
I am too.
But the practical effects are getting really good, and you can enhance a practical with some digital and make it look great. We did a little short called The Cabin, and it involved a throat cut. And the way the Christy Bull did a great job with it, but you could see the tube coming up over his shoulder into the neck. Ooh. And we had a friend, Jonathan, that did special effects digitally, erase the tube, and the gag looks absolutely perfect. But if we saw the tube, it would have, of course, taken away from the gag.
So I'm the same way. I like practical effect. I don't mind CGI as long as it's being used to enhance the practical effect. I don't like just CGI blood because it just looks like something animated, and it takes away from the feel.
Right.
Now, are you nervous? Is there anything that you're nervous about when it comes to indie horror in the future?
Oh, well, I think I can speak for a lot of filmmakers just nervous in general about our careers, where indie's going. As far as the horror genre, I'm not real nervous about it. Actually, I'm very excited about it. One of the reasons is because of the number of short films that have become feature films. And Saw, Mama, Lights Out. They give us hope that, and even if we can just come up with like a 2-minute sequence that's really, really effective, we might get a feature film out of it. And that's for all genres too. I mean, you got Napoleon Dynamite, Pixels. Just there's an endless list of feature films that began as short films, which makes me very excited and very hopeful that if I come up with an idea for a feature film, but I can't quite finish the script, I can take a really exciting, a really visually interesting section and film that as a short. And maybe something will happen, because it's been a lot of fun watching these short films actually gain traction and become something special.
I mean, they're absolutely amazing because I just started a couple weeks ago on my channel. I started doing short film reviews, Sunday short films, and they were because I was like, there's so many great short films out there that I don't feel like they're getting attention. I mean, they're not even getting reviews, So I started to point out, several that I think that people should watch. And I mean, and YouTube is so fucking great. I mean, if you're an indie filmmaker now and you're putting short films out, I mean, one time, like you would have to find an anthology but now you can put your projects up on YouTube for people to watch for free.
Oh, for years, I thought YouTube was a last resort. I don't want to put my stuff on YouTube because it's going to blow all my other chances. And in recent years, I've completely changed my tune. YouTube is phenomenal. I have everything that I've ever made on my YouTube channel. There's sites like Kings of Horror who have 2 of my films. I watched them go from like 200,000 subscribers when I learned about them to over 1.5 million. And seeing these horror films getting 1, 2, 3, 4 million views. And I thought that's the power of YouTube.
Yes.
I'm not going to probably ever have 1.5 million views, not even a 200,000 subscribers, I mean. But for someone else to have that and want my project and see people watching it constantly, leaving comments, good and bad, it demonstrates the power of YouTube. We all know how powerful YouTube is now with like Mr. Beast and all these millionaire YouTubers. So we know it's a powerful tool. I think more filmmakers can embrace it and realize it's not a last resort anymore.
Because I think it's going to be the way of the future. I mean,
I agree with you. You just
really is.
I don't know if I hear kids in the background.
It's my cat.
Your cat? Yeah. If you have kids, I don't have kids, but I have nephews and nieces, so I get to see how engaged they are on YouTube. It absolutely is the future.
Yes,
and I think other media outlets are finally realizing that and going, we have to pay attention to YouTube, because YouTube has, thousands, if not more, celebrities from YouTube that you and I have never heard of. But there's a whole generation who know exactly who these people are, and they just look up to them as major celebrities.
Because my 8-year-old nephew, he watches. I can't even think off the top of my head, but like, it's these kids who like, they have this big old house and they hide and they put different compartments in the house, and they hide from this bounty hunter who's played by Mike Ferguson, who is an indie horror actor.
Right.
And he comes in. But like, oh my goodness, they have hundreds of millions of subscribers. Like, it's something to me that I watch. I'm like, this is silly, but like, but the new generation, they love YouTube. There are people who are becoming millionaires from YouTube.
Yeah,
I normally wouldn't.
That kid Ryan from Ryan's World.
Yes,
it's a million. He's not even 12 or 13 years old, and he's a millionaire.
Yes,
from opening toys.
Yes,
people are becoming famous for reacting to stuff. Yes, just reacting, and I'm like, part of me is like discouraged by it, because we work so hard to be storytellers, and we see this happening. But part of me gets real excited. It's like, I'm not above that.
Yeah, I know.
I'm completely open to go making silly videos.
Well, I even started doing it because I started showing people doing unboxings, right? Short unboxings for like horror stuff. And it's just, there's no dialogue. It's just music and them. Just showing faces. So I actually did a couple of those, and they got a lot of views. I'm like, oh my goodness. Is this like the wave of the future? Just unboxing stuff? And I'm
I
like,
think
whoa.
it's part of the future. I mean, you probably know that companies will send products to these very popular unboxers just so
Hmm.
they can do an unboxing video.
Yeah.
And years ago, when my YouTube channel was monetized before they had all these goals you had to reach first,
Yeah. Hmm.
I spent 5 minutes. I bought a box of Lego minifigures and spent 5 minutes opening just a few of them. And that, maybe 80,000 views, but that was $50 that
Yeah.
YouTube paid me. And so I've suddenly started to see just how this happens. If you start hitting 1, 2, 10, 100 million views, there's a lot of money to be made.
A lot of money.
Yeah. And hopefully there's some horror filmmakers who are able to cash in on that.
Yeah. And like, but because I mean, even with this channel, it was going to be a review, but now, I'm doing the indie. I'm trying to spotlight on indie horror because there's no one else doing it. This is my niche. Yeah.
Right.
And monetize my first year, all that good stuff. But like, but yeah, I mean, there's money to be made in YouTube. There's money to be made. I mean, even if you're a filmmaker too, if you have a couple short films that you want to toss out there, I mean, there's money to be made to even, I'm not necessary, but it can help fund, your full-length feature.
Yeah, I can see that happening. If you have enough subscribers and enough people watching, you can finance at least part of your film from these YouTube videos.
Now, Joe, have you ever thought about doing crowdfunding or anything like that?
Yes, we did a little crowdfunding for a short film I wrote called Joe Returns a Video, as a comedy short, and we raised about $3,000. It was just for post-production sound. So that I considered that successful. I'm watching these guys like Jason Horton and Abel Berry who are doing horror films, raising tens of thousands of dollars and trying to follow what they do and learn from them. So the next one, the next movie I do, it's going to be a horror film, and we are going to crowdfund it. We have a script for Conjoined 2. Emilio has a script for us we called Slugger, which is a baseball-themed horror film. I've only seen 1 or 2 of those in my entire life. So I am absolutely going to approach crowdfunding this time and really go all in, because I see these guys successfully raising enough money, more money than I've ever had to work with, which would be huge for me right now. Because if I can pay a crew, we can... Typically, my films, with the exception of Conjoined, my films have been like, we film when we can. So Dead of Night took over a year. Lars the Emo Kid took over a year, just because I didn't have the money to have people work for like 2 or 3 weeks straight. Mm-hmm. What I see, if I can successfully crowdfund, that'll change. I'll be able to pay people, and we can shoot these things out in 2 weeks, and hopefully make them a lot faster and therefore making a lot more.
I agree. Because I had Jay Horton on my show a couple months ago. Jay Horton is, I mean, he knows his stuff. Makes excellent movies.
Absolutely.
And we were talking about it, and I was, because there is an art to crowdfunding. I mean, there's some filmmakers who think that, okay, I can just put this up there and people are going to send me thousands and thousands of dollars. Right. There's an art to it. You have to engage with the crowd. You have to, you have to stand out.
You're right. I watch these guys, and they even talk about this. It becomes a full-time job to raise this money. You absolutely have to engage, and you have to plan months ahead. I'm working with a filmmaker named Dwight Yarodsky on a movie called Death Bike, and he crowdfunded enough to shoot half the movie. Now he's still trying to crowdfund for the second half. But he worked with Abel Berry on his campaign, and it was pretty successful. And he started talking to us months ahead of time, months before the launch, created a Death Bike group to engage with all the fans. If you want to be a part of it, if you want to learn about the movie, join the group now while we're crowdfunding. And he started engaging, posting regularly, going to events in person, passing out flyers, talking about the movie. It's a job. It's a full-time job.
Yes. Now I have a controversial question that happened.
Sure.
I don't know if you follow indie horror or not, but I had some filmmakers on a couple months ago on an indie live roundtable, and discussion was, there's some filmmakers out there who are taking crowdfunding money and not doing the right thing. How do you feel about that?
Oh, it's wrong. I feel it's wrong. You ruin it for everybody. Anybody who's aware of that fraudulent campaign or a filmmaker not doing the right thing with the money, those people are not going to give to other filmmakers who are going to do the right thing with the money. They feel burned. I have been burned crowdfunding other projects, not films. Mm-hmm. I'm a big video game collector, so I would follow indie video game developers and throw money at them to try to get a copy of the game. And sometimes we never got our product, and we learned later that they never tried to make the game. They just took the money and ran. So it's the same thing. It is. Now I'm hesitant to donate to other campaigns, and that means I'm going to miss out on some good campaigns as a contributor, as a supporter. I think it's wrong. I think those filmmakers should be called out if people know the truth. And I wish the crowdfunding sites would not allow them to come back. I wish there was some kind of, I know there's feedback at the end. Did you get your product? Mm-hmm. But I don't know if that really works against, or has the crowdfunding block these fundraisers.
I agree, and the statement, because I fund a lot of, I do a lot of crowdfunding, not crowdfunding. Mm-hmm. I donate to a lot of crowdfunding from one channel.
Right.
I always get a percentage of whatever I make from YouTube, which is not a lot, but I give a percentage back. But like, I can imagine if it was my first time crowdfunding, and I was not, well versed into this, like that would leave a bad taste in my mouth. I don't think I would ever do it again.
Absolutely, and I don't blame people for not doing it again. But it's if the crowdfunding fails and you're not able to make the movie, you can give this money back. But yeah. I know a lot of, there's again, I've never been burned by a filmmaker, but I know there have been rumors about people I've know or heard of that raised money and never finished the film.
Yeah.
Like where did it go?
In the pockets.
Yeah. Did you pay your rent with it? Did you pay your mortgage with it? But how can you keep doing this? How can you just show your face after doing this to people?
Yeah. It's awful, but I mean, there's bad apples in every industry.
Absolutely.
But when it comes to just any filmmaking, it's such a small group, and like it's just a small niche group, and like all it takes is a couple to ruin for everyone.
Yeah, and like you said, it is a small community, and I may not know filmmaker A, but I know someone who knows filmmaker A. Mm-hmm. We all are connected somehow, whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 degrees. We're all going to run into each other at some point, or hear stories about each other at some point.
Exactly. So, Joe, where can everyone find you and your work? JoeGrisafi.com, StarshipFilms.com. I have links to all my movies at StarshipFilms.com. You can search my name on Tubi and find the films I've directed and a lot of the films I'm in. There's some on Amazon, YouTube. My YouTube channel is very old, so I didn't think ahead when I created it, but my channel is Hamburger Man. So, because that's where all my most subscribers are. I use that for everything. I have not created unique channels for different content yet. But Starship Films. If you want to watch the films I've directed, you can go to starshipfilms.com and find links to everything. Awesome. Listen, everyone, down in the description box is the link to starshipfilms.com. And also, I'm going to have the link to Hamburger, YouTube channel as well.
Hamburger Man, it's a Pee Wee Herman reference.
Okay. I love Pee Wee Herman, by the way. I love it.
He's missed. He's missed.
Yes. All right, everyone. Well, listen, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and that is Joe Gustafi. By the way, get your ass over to Tubi and watch Dead of Night. It's a fun movie. Definitely enjoyed it. So definitely give that a shot and give Joe all of his projects a shot as well.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Joe. Listen, by the way, you can come on anytime, man. I really enjoy this.
Okay, we'll do another one.
Yes. I would like to get you on with Jay Horton, and we can talk about.
Oh, that'd be fun. I've never actually. I follow on Facebook and the socials. I've watched his videos sometimes. I've never actually had a conversation with him. Yeah, that would be
nice guy.
That'd be phenomenal.
Nice guy. All right. Well, everyone, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and that is Joe Gustafi. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.